welcome to meeting number 24 of the House of Commons Standing Committee on Finance. Pursuant to the order of reference of Tuesday, March 24th, the committee is meeting on the government's response to the COVID-19 pandemic. We have quite a number of witnesses here on this panel today, so without any formalities, I will start. I would ask that witnesses try and hold their remarks to 5 minutes if they could. That'll make it possible for us to get most everyone in the questioning rounds. So we'll start with, as an individual, Jeffrey Booth, entrepreneur in Ottawa and author. Sorry, Jeffrey. Mr. Booth, go ahead. Floor is yours.
Thank you, and thank you for having me. These are obviously important times as a response to COVID and what the economic situation looks like in the future. But I'd like to talk about, before we talk about solutions, we really need to understand the problem we're trying to solve. And the inflationary economic system we've relied on all our lives is breaking down. COVID-19 only amplifies that phase transition. For some time, two opposing forces have been competing against each other, moving in opposite directions. Those forces are one, the exponentially deflationary aspect of technology, and two, an inflationary monetary policy that's trying to overcome it. And while we might not like those facts, it does not change them. Technology advances are sweeping across society. They've been hugely beneficial. Your smartphone you have is a compelling advantage, or a compelling example. It was only invented 13 years ago, but it is no longer just your phone. It is your camera, virtual assistant, map, music device, flashlight. For me, it's my guitar tuner, and hundreds of other applications that I pay very little for, or I get for free. More for less, and that gets better every year. That is the nature of technology. As technology accelerates from your phone across every industry, we can expect that type of step change in performance versus cost everywhere. Automotive, agriculture, energy, healthcare, it doesn't matter. It will reshape them all, and in doing so, provide far better outcomes for society at a dramatically reduced price. So if technology makes everything cheaper and more abundant, and it's moving into every industry at blinding speed, it is logical to assume that prices should go down and society should enjoy increasing benefits everywhere. The problem with that logic is the transition to deflationary. It is that deflation pressure makes it hard to pay debt back. And as a consequence, current economic dogma has us on a growth and inflation trajectory at all costs. In a desperate effort to achieve growth and inflation, which we hear about every day, in the face of a structural change brought to us by technology, central banks, not just here, but all over the world, through artificial low interest rates and monetary policy, have only added more pain. Incentives designed to make cash less valuable and encourage spending do just that. In doing so, they also discourage savings and encourage individuals and companies to take on additional debt and risk. Because of that, debt is being added to society at a rate that is really hard to comprehend. Since 2000, the world has added $185 trillion of debt to achieve $46 trillion of global growth per year. And each year, more debt is added to achieve smaller growth rates as technology pushes the other way. This was before our current crisis, which is seen an explosive rise in debt while the economy shrinks. In itself, that debt burden must slow future growth because taxes need to go up on a range of industries and households that will have to pay for it, which further restricts demand. Because that debt has grown so large, central banks and governments continually bail out the existing system, not by desire, but out of fear of letting the system fail and go through a disorderly unwind. It might be a better alternative than this and a set of bad choices. But by doing so, society is forced to run on a treadmill, requiring more work to support ever higher prices, which have themselves been inflated through monetary easing, artificial low interest rates, and bailouts. The devastating irony of the bailouts is that it artificially keeps prices high. Then the government then needs to allocate more to social programs for those left behind by the same high prices that they created in the first place. For the wealthy and those with assets that are artificially boosted by this leverage, it has played out well. Assets, including real estate and stocks, are the beneficiaries, having run up in value far beyond what they would have been without the easing. But for every person on the winning side of those decisions, there are many others on the losing side. Their costs of food, shelter, gas, education are rising because of policies designed to make their cash and wages less valuable. Paradoxically, COVID-19 actually speeds up the adoption of technology, and it is driving the trend to lower prices faster. Technology companies are the beneficiaries. Consider just one example, the system we're using right now, Zoom, going from 10 million users to 300 million users in just over 3 months. Those additional 200 million people might not occupy the same amount of real estate on the other side of this pandemic. If that happens, real estate prices would fall, as would rents, creating additional deflationary pressure. So we stand at a crossroads, similar to the one in 2008, only bigger, with calls for massive bailouts of taxpayer money to save the same system that was so clearly failing in the first place. Policy response is required and justified. There are too many people going to get hurt. But we need a new set of rules, one that starts with a far deeper understanding of the risks in using the same playbook that worked for a different time. Looking forward, productivity gains from technology advancements, especially in AI, will become so large that it'll be impossible for central banks to counteract their effect. By understanding the key structural change that technology has enabled, governments can step in and provide a transition to a very bright future for all Canadians. Not doing so is analogous to Kodak trying to retain their film business while competing against digital cameras, or Blockbuster adding candy aisles to their stores to counter Netflix. Massive money will be wasted, and it'll fail regardless. If that happens, more people in the end will be hurt. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Booth. Turning then to the